The desert was endless, silent, and forgotten. Hot winds carried dust across the dry land, covering old ruins, broken metal, and bones of machines that no one remembered anymore. Daniel, a young mechanic, walked slowly through this wasteland. He was not a soldier, not an explorer, just a man who loved machines. While others searched for water or gold, Daniel searched for scrap. Old engines, broken circuits, or even rusted wires, anything he could sell or repair. But on this day, something different waited for him. As he climbed over a dune, Daniel noticed a strange shape buried in the sand. At first, it looked like another piece of junk, maybe an old satellite or a crashed ship. But as he got closer, his heart began to race. The object was huge, far bigger than anything he had ever seen. Its surface was dark, smooth, and sharp, not like the rough ships humans built. Strange lines glowed faintly on its body, like veins of light running under dead skin. Daniel touched the metal, brushing away the sand. It felt cold, too cold for the burning desert. "What are you?" he whispered. The ground shook lightly as if the giant machine heard his voice. For a second, the glowing lines brightened, pulsing with hidden life. Daniel stepped back quickly, his heart pounding. Machines were his passion, but this was something else. It was not just old, it was beyond old. The design, the material, the size. Everything looked alien, yet there was something strangely human in its shape. Daniel climbed around the half-buried hull. There were markings, but not in any language he knew. They looked like a mix of symbols and numbers, constantly shifting when his eyes moved across them. As he wiped off more sand, he found what looked like a sealed entrance. The door was shut tight, as if the machine was holding its breath. Curiosity burned inside him. Daniel pulled out his small toolkit. "Let's see if you still have a heartbeat," he muttered. For hours under the scorching sun, he worked. He tapped the panels, connected wires, tested circuits. Most of it was dead, no power, no sound. But then, when his fingers touched a certain part of the surface, something incredible happened. A deep vibration spread through the ground. The glowing veins lit up across the hull, shining brighter than the desert sun. Dust flew off as hidden systems came alive. The air grew heavy with energy. Daniel fell back in shock, his eyes wide. The giant machine was waking up, then a voice. It was not loud. It was not even clear, but it was inside his head, a whisper of metal and fire. "Compatible." Daniel froze. He looked around, but there was no one. The desert was still empty. The voice came again, stronger this time. "Pilot, detected." His breath caught in his throat. "Pilot? Me? No, I'm just a mechanic." "You've got the wrong guy." But the ship didn't stop. The entrance he had touched began to open slowly, releasing a hiss of cold air. A dark tunnel revealed itself, leading inside the machine. Every instinct told him to run, leave, forget this thing ever existed. But Daniel's feet didn't move. His eyes were locked on the tunnel. He felt something pulling him inside, not with force, but with curiosity and destiny. He stepped forward one step, then another. Inside, the walls glowed with the same strange lines. They pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The air smelled of metal, ozone, and something ancient. He reached what looked like the control chamber. It was not like any cockpit he had ever seen. There were no buttons, no screens. Just a single seat in the center, surrounded by flowing lights. Daniel touched the seat. Immediately the voice returned. "Centuries ahead, not from here." The words made no sense, yet Daniel understood the meaning. This was not just a warship. It was not from this time. It was from a future far beyond anything humans knew. He pulled his hand away, shaking. "This is impossible." But the ship answered him again, clearer now. "You are chosen. Compatible. Together we rise." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to run, but at the same time he felt something deep inside, a connection. Machines had always been his life, his comfort. But this machine, this warship, felt alive. The glowing veins grew brighter. The seat adjusted itself, opening as if inviting him. Daniel whispered to himself, "If I sit down, nothing will ever be the same again." The desert outside was silent, but far above the sky, hidden sensors blinked awake. A signal spread quietly across the stars. The warship was alive again, and someone, somewhere, had noticed. The desert night was cold and quiet. Stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, shining like a million eyes. Inside the buried warship, Daniel stood frozen in the glowing chamber. His hand still rested on the strange seat, his mind racing. The voice inside his head came again. "Pilot confirmed." Daniel shook his head quickly. "No, I'm not a pilot. I don't belong here. I just fix broken things." The ship answered in its calm, metallic whisper. "You fix, you repair, you restore. That is enough." The seat pulsed with light, brighter each second. Daniel felt warmth spreading from the ship into his body. It was not painful, but it was overwhelming, like the warship was reading him, learning him. "Stop it," Daniel muttered, pulling his hand back. "You're alive. You're talking to me. Machines aren't supposed to do that." The voice answered without pause. "I am not from your time. I am centuries ahead." Daniel froze at those words. His heart skipped a beat. Centuries ahead? From the future? He looked around the chamber again. The walls weren't like human ships. The design, the technology, the way everything seemed to flow like liquid light. It all felt impossible. Still, curiosity burned inside him. "If you're from the future, how did you end up here?" The ship did not answer directly. Instead, lights across the chamber flickered, showing broken memories. Images filled the air, fleets of ships in battle, fire raining across planets, and a dark shadow consuming stars. Daniel's eyes widened. He couldn't understand everything, but one thing was clear. This warship had fought in a war far beyond anything humans could imagine. The images ended suddenly. Leaving only silence, Daniel whispered, "So, you're a weapon?" "Yes," the ship admitted, its voice low. "A weapon from tomorrow. But discarded here, forgotten, until you." The words made Daniel's stomach twist. Why him? Why now? He had spent his whole life fixing scraps, and now this. This monster of a machine was choosing him. He shook his head.
"No, you don't understand.
"I can't fight wars. I'm just a mechanic." The ship's lights dimmed slightly as if disappointed. "Mechanic, pilot, soldier, human, it does not matter. You are compatible." Daniel sat on the edge of the seat, breathing heavily. His thoughts spun like a storm. Part of him wanted to run out into the desert and never come back. But another part of him, the part that loved machines, that lived for discovery, couldn't leave. Finally, he asked, "What do you want from me?" The answer came instantly. "Awaken me. Restore me. Together we fight." Daniel swallowed hard. "Fight who?" Before the ship could answer, alarms blared inside the chamber. Red lights flashed. The calm voice shifted to a sharper tone. "Warning, external detection. Unidentified crafts. Inbound." Daniel's blood went cold. "What, someone's coming here?" The ship's voice grew firm. "The signal was noticed. They come to destroy me." Daniel's heart pounded. He had no idea who they were, but the fear in the ship's tone was real. Whoever was coming, they were not friends. He stood quickly. "Then we need to move you." "Get you out of here." "Not ready," the ship replied. "Systems, weak, power, low. I need repair." Daniel looked at the glowing seat, at the walls filled with broken lines of light. He clenched his fists. "Repairs, that I can do." He grabbed his small toolkit, his hands shaking but determined. For hours, he crawled through the tunnels of the ship, reconnecting wires, adjusting circuits, patching damaged systems. Sparks flew, panels groaned, but slowly life returned. As he worked, the ship guided him. Turn valve, 3 degrees. Connect blue wire. Seal breach. It was like working with a teacher. Cold, precise, but strangely protective. Finally, Daniel collapsed back in the control chamber, covered in sweat and dust. "That's all I can do for now," he panted. The ship's lights glowed brighter. Power, 43%. Weapons, offline. Shields, unstable. Engines, limited. Daniel rubbed his face. "Not perfect, but better than nothing." The ship's voice lowered. "They will arrive soon. You must be ready." Daniel's hands trembled as he looked at the central seat. He didn't want this. He wasn't born for this. But deep inside, he knew he couldn't run anymore. He took a deep breath and sat in the seat. Instantly, the glowing veins crawled up the walls, wrapping the chamber in light. His body felt weightless. His vision blurred, then cleared. He gasped. He was no longer just sitting in a cockpit. He was seeing through the ship's eyes, feeling its weight, its power, its hunger to rise again. The voice whispered in his mind, closer than ever. "You are inside me. We are one." Daniel's heart thundered. God help me. Outside, the desert winds howled. But above, far in the night sky, dark shapes began to appear. Enemy ships cutting through the stars. The hunters had arrived, and the warship was awake again. The desert sky was no longer quiet. Strange lights moved above the clouds, fast and sharp. They were not stars. They were ships. Daniel sat inside the awakened warship, his body tense. Through the ship's vision, he could feel them, 6 enemy crafts approaching from orbit, silent but deadly. The ship's calm voice echoed in his mind. "Hunters, scouts, searching for me." Daniel swallowed hard. "And they found you, because of that signal." "Yes," the ship replied. "They come to erase what should not exist in this time." Daniel's stomach twisted. He had no training, no weapons of his own. All he had was this half-repaired warship, and the warship had chosen him. "Are we ready to fight them?" he asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Systems unstable. Weapons 41% active. Shields 30%. Engines limited, but enough." Daniel gripped the glowing seat arms. Enough to survive. Silence. The ship did not answer. Above the desert, the hunters broke formation, spreading like vultures. Their sleek black ships gleamed under starlight. Each one carried weapons designed to kill with precision. They had destroyed colonies, burned fleets, and erased countless lives. But they had never faced something like this. Inside, Daniel felt his chest tighten. 6 against 1. "You call that enough?" The ship's voice was calm. "With you?" "Yes." Daniel wanted to laugh, but fear swallowed the sound. He had no choice. If he left, they would find him anyway. If he stayed, at least he could fight. "Then let's do this," he whispered. The hunters made the first move. Beams of red fire cut through the sky, striking the sand where the warship lay buried. Explosions shook the ground. Metal scrap flew like shrapnel. The ship's voice warned, "Shields critical. Remaining 20%. Daniel clenched his teeth. "We can't sit here. Get us in the air." Engines roared beneath him. The desert shook as the forgotten warship lifted from its grave. Sand and dust spun into the night, revealing its full size. Dark, sleek armor glowed with ancient light. For the first time in centuries, the warship rose into battle. The hunters adjusted quickly. They swarmed, circling like wolves, their weapons glowing. Daniel's hands moved across the controls, guided by instinct and the ship's guidance. "What do we hit them with?" The ship answered. "Plasma cannons ready!" Daniel shouted. "Fire!" Twin cannons blazed, ripping through the night. A ball of burning plasma slammed into the nearest hunter. It exploded instantly, fire raining from the sky. Daniel gasped, his body trembling. We got one." The ship was calm. 5 remain. The hunters attacked back, releasing missiles and beams. The warship twisted, engines screaming. Daniel felt his body press into the seat, his vision blurring as the ship dodged. The hunters' blasts struck the desert instead, throwing up massive pillars of fire. Enemy lock detected. The ship warned. "Break it." Daniel shouted, his voice shaking. The warship spun, launching counterfire. Missiles streaked from its side, chasing 2 hunters through the night. They tried to escape, but the future weapons were too fast. Both enemy ships exploded in a storm of light. Daniel's heart pounded. That's 3 down. 3 left, but the victory was short. The remaining hunters formed a tight formation and attacked together. Their beams slammed into the warship's shields. Sparks erupted across the cockpit. Daniel raised his arms to protect his face as smoke filled the chamber. "Shields. 5%. The ship warned coldly. "Failure imminent," Daniel cursed. "We can't take another hit like that." The ship's voice lowered. "Then we must strike first." Daniel's eyes darted across the glowing panels. His hands shook. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained for this. But something inside him screamed. If he didn't act now, both he and the ship would die. He slammed a control forward. "Then show me everything you've got." The warship obeyed. Panels along its sides split open, revealing hidden weapons. Light gathered, brighter than anything the hunters had seen before. The hunters charged in, believing the warship was finished. Too late. The warship unleashed its fury. Beams of pure energy lanced through the night, tearing one hunter in half. Another was shredded by rapid plasma fire. The last tried to escape, twisting violently through the air. Daniel leaned forward, eyes locked on his target. Not today. He pulled the trigger. A missile roared forward, chasing the final hunter until it connected. The explosion painted the desert sky in fire, and then silence. Daniel's chest heaved. Sweat dripped down his face. His hands trembled on the controls. We actually did it. The warship's voice replied, calm but heavy. Threat eliminated. But this is not victory. They will return, stronger, smarter. Daniel leaned back, staring at the burning sky. His whole body felt numb. The desert was silent again, but inside he knew nothing would ever be the same. He whispered, if this was just the scouts. What's coming next? The warship's voice was clear. The war. The future is waking, and we must be ready. The desert still burned with the wrecks of the hunters. Smoke rose into the night sky, glowing red with fire. Daniel sat in the cockpit, his body shaking from exhaustion. The warship was quiet, its systems humming softly. For a moment there was silence. He had survived. He had destroyed enemies who should have been far stronger than him. But the ship's voice came, calm and sharp. This was not the end. They will return. They will not stop. Daniel leaned back in the glowing seat, his heart heavy. Yeah, I figured. That was just a taste, wasn't it? Yes, the ship replied. A scouting party. The real fleet will arrive soon, hundreds, maybe more. Daniel's chest tightened. Hundreds, against one broken warship and one scared mechanic. It felt impossible. He rubbed his forehead. Then we're dead. But the ship's voice was firm. Not dead, prepared. I hold technology. Centuries ahead of this age. If restored fully, I am stronger than their fleets. Daniel blinked at the glowing walls. Centuries ahead. You keep saying that. You mean you're not from this time, do you? Silence filled the chamber. Then the ship spoke, lower now, almost like a whisper. I was not built in your past. I was not meant for your present. I am from the future. A war that has not yet reached you. Daniel felt cold. A war from the future. That explained the impossible weapons, the strange designs, the way the ship seemed both alien and human at once. But if you're from the future, he said slowly, why are you here? Why now? The ship's lights dimmed. Unknown. My memory is broken. My last recall. I was fighting in the far future. Then darkness. When I awoke, I was buried here. In your time. Daniel's mind spun. If this ship was pulled back in time, then maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe it was meant to be here. Before he could think more, alarms blared. Red light washed the chamber. Warning, long-range detection. Multiple hostiles inbound. Estimated arrival, 10 minutes. Daniel's heart jumped. Already? Yes, the ship replied. They followed the signal. The war begins now. Far above the Earth's sky, dozens of hunter ships entered the atmosphere. Their sleek black hulls cut through the clouds like blades. Behind them, heavier cruisers followed, carrying weapons powerful enough to erase cities. The enemy fleet had come. Daniel gripped the seat, his knuckles white. How many? The ship answered coldly. 37 confirmed ships. More incoming. Daniel almost laughed, but it was hollow. 37? And it's just you and me. Correction, the ship said. It is us, together. The engines roared to life, brighter and stronger than before. The desert shook as the warship lifted fully into the sky. Flames of energy trailed behind it, painting the night. For the first time in centuries, the future rose against the present. The hunters opened fire first. Beams of red cut across the sky, dozens at once. The warship spun, shields flaring as the blast struck. Daniel felt each impact in his bones, but the ship held steady. Shields at 42%, the ship reported. Daniel shouted, "Fire back!" Cannons roared. Plasma bolts ripped through the night, smashing 2 hunters into dust. Missiles streaked out, twisting mid-air before exploding against another ship. 3 hunters fell in seconds, but the fleet pressed harder. 10 ships circled from above, firing together. Explosions shook the cockpit, sparks flying. Daniel shielded his face, shields at 12%. "Danger," the ship warned. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then we hit them harder." He slammed the controls. Hidden panels across the hull opened. Bright energy gathered, humming with power. The ship's voice whispered in his mind, "Temporal cannon, unstable, but ready." Daniel had no idea what that meant, but his gut told him it was dangerous. Still, he had no choice. Do it. The warship unleashed a blinding beam. The sky itself seemed to tear apart as the cannon fired. 5 hunters were erased instantly, their ships breaking into glowing dust. The desert below lit up like daylight. Daniel gasped, his whole body trembling. "What was that?" The ship replied, almost proud. "A weapon from your tomorrow. They cannot resist it." But the battle was not over. The enemy cruisers arrived, massive ships carrying heavy cannons. Their shadows covered the desert. Daniel's eyes widened. Oh no, the first cruiser fired. A blast the size of a mountain screamed toward them. "Brace," the ship warned. The beam struck. The warship's shield shattered. Daniel felt the shock slam through his body. Systems screamed. Lights flickered. Damage critical. "Shields offline," the ship reported. Daniel coughed through smoke. "We can't take another hit like that." The ship's voice lowered. "Then we must strike first. No mercy." Daniel's jaw clenched. He wiped the sweat from his eyes. "All right, let's show them what the future looks like." The warship dove, engines burning brighter than the enemy could track. It weaved between blasts, closing the distance to the cruisers. Daniel shouted, "Fire everything." Missiles launched in a storm. Plasma cannons tore across the sky. The temporal beam charged again, shaking the air. One cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. Another split apart as missiles pierced its core. The hunters tried to protect their masters, but the warship was too fast, too advanced. Explosions lit up the night sky like a second sunrise. When the smoke cleared, only silence remained. Dozens of wrecks fell burning into the desert. The enemy fleet was gone. Daniel sat frozen in the cockpit, his chest rising and falling fast. His ears rang. His mind was blank. He whispered, "We survived." The ship's voice was quiet but steady. "Victory. Temporary. This was only the beginning. More fleets will come. The galaxy now knows. The future has awakened." Daniel stared out at the stars. He felt small, but inside a fire had started, he whispered, "Then let them come. We'll be ready." The desert was silent again, but the silence felt heavy. Burning wrecks of alien ships lay scattered across the dunes, glowing like dying stars. Daniel sat in the cockpit of the warship, his body weak, his mind spinning. He had survived again against impossible odds, but he knew it was not over. The ship's voice came into his mind, calm and steady. "Long-range signals detected. Enemy fleets are moving. They will come in greater numbers." Daniel rubbed his tired face. "How many are we talking about?" The answer chilled him. "Thousands. A full armada. Their empire fears me. They cannot allow me to exist in this age." Daniel leaned back, staring at the ceiling of the glowing chamber. Thousands. That was not a battle. That was a storm that would crush everything in its path. He muttered, "We don't stand a chance," the ship disagreed. "We do, but a choice must be made." Daniel frowned. "Choice? Yes, I can take us into the future, into the war I belong to. There I am not alone. There others like me fight. But if we stay here, we fight to change your time, to make humanity rise early, centuries ahead of its destiny." Daniel's throat went dry. "Go forward, escape this fight, or stay and drag humanity into a war it wasn't ready for." The ship's voice lowered. "Decide, escape, or fight." Daniel closed his eyes. He thought about his life before this. Scrap metal, rusted engines, a forgotten mechanic in a forgotten desert. Nobody ever looked at him like he mattered. Nobody ever believed he could do something great, but this warship had chosen him. His eyes opened, clear now. He clenched his fists. "If you were sent here, maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe you're here for a reason, and maybe that reason is me." The ship pulsed with light, as if it understood. Daniel leaned forward, his voice strong. "We're not running. We fight here. Humanity deserves its future now." The stars above filled with light as the alien fleet arrived. Dozens of massive carriers, hundreds of hunters, and endless waves of war machines descended toward Earth. It was more power than any human army had ever seen. The alien commander's voice echoed through open channels. "Ancient weapon detected. Erase it. Burn the planet if necessary." The fleet opened fire. Daniel gripped the glowing seat. His fear was gone now, replaced with fire. "Let's give them a fight they'll never forget." The warship roared to life, brighter than ever. Its engines screamed like thunder. It launched upward, leaving the desert behind, rising into the sky to meet the enemy. The first wave of hunters swarmed. Daniel moved with instinct now, his body and the ship working as one. Plasma fire tore through the enemy ranks. Missiles streaked out, cutting across the black sky. One by one, hunters exploded, raining fire across the clouds, but the enemy pressed harder. Massive carriers unleashed their cannons, firing beams strong enough to split mountains. Daniel dodged, weaved, and countered, but the sky lit up with endless fire, shields collapsing. The ship warned. Daniel gritted his teeth. Then we hit them harder. The temporal cannon charged, shaking the entire ship. Daniel aimed at the nearest carrier. Fire! A blinding beam tore across the void, slicing the carrier in half. The explosion shook space itself. 2 more carriers were destroyed in the shockwave. The alien fleet faltered. Fear spread. But the commander's voice was sharp. Press on. That ship cannot hold forever. The battle raged. Hours felt like seconds. Daniel's arms ached, his vision blurred, but he refused to stop. Every move, every shot, every strike, he and the warship fought as one. One by one, enemy ships fell. The sky became a graveyard of burning metal, but the warship was breaking too. Sparks flew across the cockpit. Panels cracked. Systems screamed. Damage critical, the ship warned. Core unstable. Daniel coughed, smoke filling his lungs. How much longer can we hold? The ship was silent for a moment. Then it answered softly. Long enough. Finally, the last carrier remained. The enemy flagship. Its weapons glowed, charging for a final devastating shot that would wipe out both Daniel and the warship. Daniel leaned forward, blood on his face, eyes burning with determination. One last strike. Together. The warship's voice was calm. Together. The engines flared, brighter than suns. The warship charged straight at the flagship. Enemy fire ripped through the sky, but Daniel didn't stop. He pushed forward, faster, harder. The temporal cannon charged one last time, unstable, shaking the ship to its core. Daniel screamed, "Fire!" The beam erupted, tearing straight through the flagship. The explosion was blinding, louder than thunder, brighter than day. The flagship broke apart, a giant shadow falling in flames. And then, silence. Daniel sat slumped in the seat, his whole body shaking. The warship floated among burning wrecks, victorious but broken. Systems flickered. The AI's voice was weak now, fading. Enemy fleet destroyed. Humanity was safe, for now. Daniel closed his eyes, exhausted but alive. A smile touched his face. Safe? Because of us. The ship's voice whispered one last message. This is only the beginning. More will come. But today, you changed history. Daniel looked out at the stars, glowing brighter than ever. He wasn't just a forgotten mechanic anymore. He was the first pilot of tomorrow, and the galaxy would never forget.